Welcome to Judge Betty's court. The 5-year lie finally ends. Judge Betty holds up the DNA envelope. Her eyes sweep across the tense courtroom. These results will end a 5-year mystery for a child named Kenya. Mr. Matlock, the wait is over. A dramatic pause. The camera cuts to Matlock's clenched jaw, Monroe's trembling hands. The audience is leaning forward. You are not the father. The courtroom explodes. Matlock leaps up, pointing to the sky. I knew it. I knew it from the beginning. I want all my money back. Monroe sinks into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. The audience is on its feet, cheering and gasping. Please be seated.
This is the case of Matlock versus Monroe. Mr. Matlock, you claim Miss Monroe told you point blank that you were not the father of her child.
Yes, Your Honor. Her exact words were, "You are not the father." So I left.
Judge Betty turns to Monroe. Ms. Monroe, you admit to having serious doubts? Monroe replies,
Yes, Your Honor. He was gone for a month and wouldn't answer my calls. I thought he was never coming back.
Matlock explodes.
A week. I was gone a week. And in that 1 week, she moved her ex-lover into our home.
Judge Betty raises her hand for silence, letting the accusation hang in the air.
All right, Mr. Matlock. Explain to me how you got into this relationship and why you have these doubts.
The week that changed everything, Adam Tarnock begins.
Back in 2007, I went down to Fort Smith to visit my son. I told her I'd be gone for about a week.
Monroe interrupts.
You said
No,
you'd be gone a weekend
you said
and you
you'd
were
be
gone
gone
a
a
month.
weekend
It was a
and you were
week.
gone a month.
A
It was a
week.
week.
I was
Matlock
gone a
insists.
week.
You're lying.
And in that
You are
one
You
such
were
a
gone a
liar.
month. Monroe fires back. Judge Betty intervenes.
At what point do you find out that she's moved another man into the house?
From her, Matlock says. Monroe adds, yeah, I told you. At least I was honest. Judge Betty gives Monroe a sharp
Miss
look.
Monroe, you weren't honest about the baby.
The judge investigates further.
Miss Monroe, when he went out of town, did he voluntarily call you at all while he was gone?
Monroe pauses, then admits, maybe 2 or 3 times the whole time he was gone. So you spoke to him 2 or 3 times, the judge clarifies. But when you called, he didn't answer. Yes, Monroe says, he would not answer my calls. Judge Betty processes this slowly. So at some point, after he hasn't answered your calls on several occasions, you say to yourself, he must not be coming back. Yes, Monroe confirms. Judge Betty leans in, her voice dropping. So I'm gonna move somebody into the house. Who'd you move in? One of my exes, Monroe admits. One of your exes, the judge repeats. Now, you didn't decide just to date him. You decided to actually move him right on in. Monroe nods.
All the way in. He came from out of town.
Matlock can't contain himself.
What kind of woman does that?
Judge Betty continues. And so I assume there was a sexual relationship going on at this time as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Monroe says. Mr. Matlock, you returned home soon after she moved in her ex?
Woman does
Matlock
that.
explains.
She put her ex out. We talked on the phone about the situation.
Because I wanted you. I didn't want him.
I have feelings for her. I've known her since we were little. So I still felt something. We worked it out. I eventually moved back in and we picked up our sexual relationship again.
All right,
Judge
Mr.
Betty
Matlock.
asks, all right, then what happened? Well, Matlock states, everything was going good for about a month and a half. Then I get a phone call from my sister. What's up? May pregnant. Monroe tries to interrupt. You ain't who you pretending to be. Matlock continues.
I'm like, what you mean, May pregnant? I just talked to her on the phone. After I found out she was pregnant, we sat down. I asked her point blank, am I the father of this child? Who's the baby daddy?
She looked at me and said, "You're not the father." Real talk. Can't make it up. That's what she said. You are not the father.
That's what she said. You are not the father, Judge Betty asks. So once you heard that, out, Matlock says. I cashed my cut and I was gone. Monroe denies it. I didn't say that. Matlock is adamant. Were you listening? You said you are not the father. Judge Betty tries to understand Monroe's reasoning. In those 18 months together, you never used protection? Correct, Monroe says. You assumed he may not be the father based on the fact it had been 18 months and you hadn't gotten pregnant? Yes, Monroe confirms. And within that little amount of time after the ex, I got pregnant. But is the truth that you really didn't know who the child's father was? Judge Betty asks. Exactly, Matlock exclaims. Monroe explains. When I had my 5-year-old, she looked just like my other daughter, so I assumed she wasn't his because her and my other child looked exactly alike. Matlock responds, I'm not saying she's not pretty, but I don't think it's my baby. Well, I don't care what you think, Monroe says. Judge Betty asks if Matlock feels any attachment to the child. He points into the audience. Man, that could be Jerome's baby. You talking about this Jerome? That Jerome. The courtroom erupts in laughter. Jerome! A man in the audience responds.
She is not mine.
No, it's not mine, Monroe says. She looks a little dark to be his baby. Matlock points again. That man right there. You better not mess with Jerome. It could be his baby. At what point did she claim you might be the father? December 31st, 2008. Matlock states, me and her sister are friends. I call her every New Year's to say, Happy New Year. First thing out of her sister's mouth was, what's up? You need to check on your daughter. He pauses for effect. I didn't even know she had a girl. As a matter of fact, when the baby was born, another man was in the hospital room with her. Monroe fires back.
Where were you?
At home, Matlock says. I was back in town taking care of my son, doing what a father's supposed to do, working, taking care of my business. Both start shouting. Judge Betty calls for order. Matlock continues. In the beginning, I would have been there for you. You don't know. Had you said, hey, it's not your baby, but it's a possibility, we could have worked on it and probably still be together. I told your sister that, Monroe claims. Matlock counters, no, I told your sister that. You said out of your mouth you are not the father. Did you not say that? Judge Betty moves to the present. Mr. Matlock, in your statement to the court, you are paying child support for Ms. Monroe's daughter.
Yes, Your
ma'am,
Honor.
he says. And to top that off, on Facebook, the other father in question inboxed me. I called him and said, what's up? He was like, what's up? I heard you might be the father now. I said, yeah, I thought you was the father. And he said,
Well, let me tell you something else. She was messing with this old big dude from Fayetteville at the time.
Monroe denies it.
You are such a liar. I never messed with that dude.
Judge Betty needs to understand. I need to understand how you started paying child support, Matlock explains. She sent me papers with all his information to put him on child support. We were supposed to get a DNA test, but she didn't want to get it done. It's been 3 or 4 years. She put me on child support instead. I called them, filled out the papers to file for a paternity
With that
test.
dude. You ain't called nothing.
Yes, I did, Matlock insists. I didn't get no reply back. Next thing I know, I got served with papers saying I missed my court date, and I was the father by default. The bottom line is, Judge Betty clarifies, when that court date came up, you're saying you never got notice of when it was? No, ma'am, Matlock says. So you didn't show. You weren't there. I was at work. By default, Judge Betty states, you were determined to be the father. I am the father by default, Matlock confirms. Judge Betty lays out the burden.
I've established you're paying child support in the amount of $360 a month for a child you still don't know is yours or not. How is this affecting your life?
It ruined my marriage, Matlock says. How so? Matlock explains the domino effect.
When my wife found out they were taking child support for a baby I didn't know was mine or not, we got into it. She was mad. The baby came before me and her were even together, but she was still mad. My son's mother's mad because SHE gets more money than my son's mother. And my son's name is on the birth certificate. That's my blood. She's mad because this girl gets more money, so I'm going back to court over that.
The pain is visible on his face. I've been to jail for child support because my son's mother got mad. Me and my girl just broke up a couple weeks ago because she's tired of putting up with this drama. This is taking from my home. He details his work schedule. I work 85 to 90 hours every 2 weeks. On a good check, I might hit $300. Monroe interrupts. Stop making babies. And I think you got way more than I got, Matlock retorts. Judge Betty summarizes.
Mr. Matlock, you're working triple shifts trying to make sure you're paying child support.
I'm
Miss
killing
Monroe,
myself, he admits. Killing myself. Trying to find a second job right now. Not only to pay child support, but to make sure Christmas, birthdays, school time, my son has what he needs. Judge Betty turns to Monroe.
Paying child support. Miss Monroe, so you're receiving support, but you still don't know if he's in fact the father of your child?
Correct, Monroe says. You don't really know. There's a 50-50th chance, Monroe admits. Matlock adds, on top of that, nobody in my family likes or believes that baby's mine. Nobody. Nobody. Judge Betty calls a witness. Mrs. Matlock, please stand. State your name for the court. Nirvana Matlock. What do you have to add to this? Nirvana begins.
First of all, my mama, my sisters, my brothers, none of us, none of my family care about her. And if the baby was his, when I tried to go see the little girl on a Sunday, she was supposed to bring the little girl to see me. She texted me out the blue and was like, well, she's not here.
She's fired up now. I was supposed to go to the little girl's birthday party, but I live in a whole different town. I have a job. I work every day. Monroe says, I do too. I'm a mother. I work. Nirvana continues. Out the goodness of my heart, I said I'm going to try to establish a relationship just in case. Because I feel like if he's paying child support for the baby, it's his. I'll take care of my niece. Judge Betty asks, so you felt like once it was determined he was paying child support, you tried to see the child? I tried. When I came down there, I tried to see the little girl. He should try too. Matlock exclaims, I did try to see the little girl. Judge Betty concludes, thank you. I've established that you've tried to see the child. Mrs. Monroe is clear that there's still a 50-50th chance you may be seated. Judge Betty addresses the evidence. Mr. Matlock, you submitted dates as it relates to the conception of this child. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Betty pulls up a visual timeline.
The dates that you were intimate with the defendant was the last week in August, shown here in green. And you claim that her ex was intimate with her during the beginning of August, indicated in yellow. And that's the month of conception.
Matlock adds, it could have been longer than that she was sleeping with him. Monroe denies it.
You are such a liar.
I was sleeping with you all them other months. Judge Betty states, either way, it's easy to see through your visual that this could be either way. Either of you could be the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Matlock agrees. But we also have Mrs. Monroe agreeing to that. Am I correct? Monroe
Yes, Your
confirms. You are correct. Judge Betty takes a long, suspenseful pause. She looks from one to the other. So the only way we're going to get the answer is to get the results. Matlock says, that's what we here for. Monroe echoes, that's what we here for. Are you ready? Judge Betty asks. Jerome, do you have the envelope? Matlock insists, I want to know. The tension is unbearable. The courtroom is completely silent.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics in the case of Matlock versus Monroe. When it comes to 5-year-old Kenya Monroe,
she opens the envelope, reads silently for a beat, then looks up. Mr. Matlock, the wait is over. A dramatic pause. She holds his gaze.
You are not the father.
It explodes.
I knew it! I knew it from the beginning! I want your baby's daddy. Put somebody else on child support. I want my money back. I want my money back. I told you I wasn't the father of that child. Knew it from the beginning. Trifling.
His sister, Nirvana, covers her mouth. Oh my gosh. Ooh, Lord. Monroe has run out of the courtroom. Judge Betty asks, Jerome, would you go check on Mrs. Monroe and see if we can escort her back in the courtroom? Matlock continues his celebration. I want all my money back. All my money back. I paid too much. I worked way too hard. My son could have had that money. She knew that from the beginning. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said it. I knew it. I knew it. I feel sorry for the baby. Monroe returns to the courtroom, visibly distraught, sobbing.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll give you your money back.
Matlock says, that's what I need. Judge Betty's voice becomes calm and measured after the storm. You know, I know you feel as if this money's been going out the window. You've been paying for a child that's not yours, that you could have been paying that money to your son. I understand why you feel that way, But when you do look at this little girl, at least you can say that you have provided for a young child that is in a position none of us would want to be in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Matlock says. All right, Judge Betty continues. Now you're going to have to go back to your home state and petition that court. But I am here to tell you right now, there is no guarantee you're going to receive that money back, Monroe asks. The child support will at least stop though, right? Yes, the judge confirms. I'll stop it, Monroe says. I'm not going to make you pay for it if she's not yours. Judge Betty offers final wisdom.
The issue is, moving forward, you all have had a long-standing friendship, even outside of a sexual relationship. You've been knowing each other since middle school, am I correct?
Yeah.
Matlock says, yeah, since before puberty. Monroe agrees, yeah. Now, Mrs. Monroe, Judge Betty says.
Miss Monroe.
From where I'm seated, I don't feel like you've given Mr. Matlock the type of apology that I think will really help him be able to move on. And maybe at some point you can bring yourself to doing that. A profound pause. She looks at them both, because two people that have been through what you all have been through, that potentially could have created this beautiful little girl. I think it's important that we understand that now that the truth is on the table, you all need to at least learn how to be civil. Are we clear? Matlock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Monroe says yes, Your Honor. Judge Betty delivers her final statement. The truth has a weight that lies can never hold. You've both been carrying it for years. Now that it's finally on the table, you must decide. Will you let it crush what's left between you, or will you use it as solid ground to finally build something civil? Be clear with yourselves.
The court is
adjourned. Monroe, through sobs, offers a heartfelt apology. I wanted him to be the father because he's more responsive. I'm sorry that I put you through all this. I know you hurt. Matlock accepts it. It's all right. We handled it. We still good. Okay. We still good. Come on. I'm just happy we came on paternity court to get it settled. They embrace briefly. Both broken. Both relieved. Both forever changed by the truth. 5 years of uncertainty. Destroyed relationships. Financial ruin. All because of one lie. But today, the truth finally came out. Mr. Matlock is not the father. And now, both of them must figure out how to move forward.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe so you're first to see our next update on due process. Bye.